Hello everybody, you're very welcome to this episode of Object-Oriented Programming. In this episode we're going to look at a special kind of object called a manager object. Now when we're talking about the design of object-oriented programs, and particularly thinking about transitioning from procedural programs to OO programs, manager objects can be very effective. So the term manager object is used in Python. Different programming languages have different terms for this kind of object or class. You might hear the term controller object or controller class, and that would be in the paradigm of the model view controller, or delegation class or delegation object as well. So a manager object in my mind is the same as a manager in the office. The manager in the office doesn't do anything themselves, but rather they tell other people what to do. And in the same way, a manager class and object don't have any internal activity really. They just call other methods, but they also pass messages from one method to another within the sequence, so they facilitate and control things. There's a lot of benefits to them. I think the most important one is you see exactly how the program works by just looking at the manager object, because it tells you what methods are being called, and then you can see the sequence of the program. As an example, I wanted to think about, let's say we wanted to search for some text in a few different text files, and then replace that with some other phrase in each of the files that's found in. And just to make it more fun, let's say all the files are in a zip. So we have to unzip, search the files, replace the text, and then rezip the new files back. The manager object in this case will have three key components to it. The first will be to unzip the compressed file, second to do the search and replace, and then the third will be to zip up the new files. So if we're creating a class, our general class will have an init file as usual, which in this case takes in, you can guess, the file name, the search string, and the string you want to replace it with. We also in the object have a temporary directory where we're saving the unzipped files to and creating the new ones, and creating the new zip in fact. But here's the important thing, here's our manager object or manager class. The manager class in this case is called zip find replace, and all it does is call a method called unzip files, then calls a method called find and replace, and then calls a method called zip files. And that's it, that's the manager object. So this method delegates responsibility to the other methods, that is to say it instructs them and then hands over power to one at a time. There are a lot of benefits to doing it this particular way, to have these three steps in this manager method. We could just implement the code as one big long method, but there are benefits to breaking it up like this. The manager object is more readable. We understand the structure of the program. It's got three steps: unzip, replace, and then rezip. It's easy to change around the functionality as well. Let's say it was a different type of compression we were using. We'd change the unzip, but we'd leave the find and replace exactly the same, and then we'd have to change the rezip. So we could add functionality to the manager object really easily. All we'd have to do is check if the compressed type is zip, then unzip, else untar. Then we do find and replace, then we check again which type it is, and we'd either rezip or retar. And even in terms of the one method doing one thing well, let's say in a different program we just wanted to find and replace text within a file. We didn't want to do any zipping with it. We have a find replace method now that allows us to do that easily. So we've got each method doing one thing well as opposed to a bunch of different things less well. So just for illustration, our unzip files method might look something like this. It has various calls we don't need to worry about at the moment, but let's just for the sake of understanding exactly that each call within the manager object calls a specific method. So unzip files will just extract all the files to a directory. the find replace goes through each file, and within each file checks for the search string it's looking for and then replaces it with the replace string. And then the final thing is to zip up all those files, and we do that like that. So I think the key thing here, and I said it a second ago, is that each method should do one thing well. This is the core, I think, of modularization. We could have a method that did 15 things, but that's not good program design. Good program design is that each method does one thing well. Let's say we had a method that just did half a thing. What's the point in that? Let's just create every method that is very effective in what it does, and then use these manager objects to collate or collect the various bits of functionality together. It helps a lot because let's say we had two programs, one to unzip tar files and one to unzip zip files, uncompressed tar files and uncompressed zip files. The find and replace in both of those programs would be exactly the same code, whereas by breaking it up and using a manager object, we've eliminated the need for duplication. To me, I think manager objects are not only good object-oriented practice, but also good procedural practice in the sense that you are adhering to the basic rule of modularization. Let everything do its own job well. So thanks very much. We'll see you in the next episode. And it's over to you now.